Welcome to Winners Wallets Worldviews. I'm your host, AJ Armstrong. You can follow me on Instagram at AaronArmstrong33, or you can go to my website, AaronJArmstrong.com. Today, I am honored to have the guests coming to us from New Jersey, Stuart and Kelly Josberger. These two were the founders and owners of Stumpy's Hatchet House, which for you guys that don't know, this is the hatchet tossing game that they were the first ones to pioneer this effort and bring it into the United States. And it all started with it was a business that actually started as a backyard game that they had. And they had this idea of how they could bring it to everybody. And along with their friends, Mark and Trish, who are also owners, they decided to bring this into America and start the hatchet tossing activity. And it has blown up into 18 stores as well as 25 possible franchisees outstanding right now. So I was so excited to meet this couple and bring them on the podcast so that we could learn about their experience. And just since 2015, how this thing has completely exploded, and they took a backyard game and turned it into a massive franchise. So without further ado, this is Stuart and Kelly Josberger.
Welcome to Winners, Wallets, and Worldviews, the only show that's going to teach you
how to be somebody.
Where in your life did you learn that you're not good enough?
Take what you're most passionate about and what you're most fearful of. And what is the plan to overcome that fear? And what is the plan to enact that passion?
Welcome, everybody, to Winners, Wallets, Worldviews podcast. Today, you can follow me on Instagram at AaronArmstrong33, or you can go to my website, AaronJArmstrong.com, for all of the latest content on this podcast and other things. So we have on the other line here coming to us, you guys are from New Jersey, or in New Jersey right now, I assume, but we got Kelly and Stu Josberger, who are the founders of Stumpy's Hatchet House. And guys, for those of you that don't have seen this, really, it's a phenomenon going on right now where people are throwing axes into, wooden board targets. You guys were really the first people that brought that here. And I think there's been a lot of copycats since then that we've seen throughout the country. But the original concept and idea is largely credited to where you guys came up with this. And I wanted to just talk about your journey and a little bit about yourself. But before that, I want to just kind of allow you guys to give a brief introduction of yourselves and a little bit about Stumpy's.
Sure.
So I'm one quarter of the company, Stuart Josberger, and this is my wife, Kelly.
Hi.
Hello.
The backstory is, started throwing hatchets in the backyard back in 2015. Did that for a couple of months.
You guys were just throwing them in your backyard? That was like a family thing or something you guys did?
Yeah, well, we lived in the Pine Barrens, so, it's a tradition. No, it was just one of those things. We were splitting wood for a chimney, and Mark and I, we were having a picnic after sailing or a barbecue after sailing, and we were out back splitting up some wood to burn the chimney and started throwing the hatchet at a log round that I had. And then that morphed into Mark, who's a master carpenter, building like a tripod target thing. And then it was, inviting friends over. Neighbors are wondering what we're doing out there at all hours. We got kind of addicted to throwing hatchets and having a few beers. And then, we're thinking about what we're going to do after our, regular 9-to-5s retired, as we're, approaching that point. And Mark was looking for something to do, I think, and decided to, look into making hatchet throwing a business. And after doing some research, we saw that it was viable in Canada, in Australia, but nobody was really doing it here in the States. So we looked, for about 6 months to try to find a location, came up with a business plan, tapped into some resources that we had, went through the sweaty palm day of signing a lease for 2 years, not knowing if this thing was going to take off or not. And that was really probably one of the most stressful days when, kind of the reality hits you. And then did the build out, opened for business in April of 2016. Probably 4 or 5 months later, we were really rocking and rolling and realized we had found, a very good business, and rolled with it until 2017. We had a lot of people who were interested in franchising, who said they want to basically said they want to open a Stumpy's. I want to open a Stumpy's. We were getting some inquiries and people that were there walking out the door, like, this is great. I want to open one in my town. And we were like, sober up and give us a call in the morning. We'll talk about it. And they were following up. And so our original plan was that we were going to, take the profits from this one and maybe roll it into another or 2 or 3 in the metro New York, New Jersey area. And then at that point, because we had so many people interested, we kind of shifted the business plan over to franchising, set up the franchise model in early 2017, sold our first in the summer of 2017. And now we have 18 locations open with 38, with another 20 in development.
Wow.
That's a long story short.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go into all this stuff too, and learn every little piece. So take me to when you kind of sign the lease and you're in those first couple months. At what point did you start to realize, like, we've really got something here? And what do you think that thing was?
Aaron, thanks for having us on. I would say a pivotal moment was when a woman from Hoboken had her 30th birthday, and she called us and she said, "Do you have room for 30 people?" And we said, "Sure, we have room for 30 people." And then she called and she said, I may be more like 40 or 50 people. And they had such a huge group with all kinds of energy. And that was pretty early on. That was May or June when we thought, oh my gosh, look at all these people having such a good time. And then, so that was a pivotal moment where we were like high-fiving behind the door, like woohoo, this is working.
Like our first big party sale, it was like.
And I think that was a demographic that we thought we were going to, be popular with. But then we started to really feel more confident when all kinds of people were coming in, all ages, and men and women, and for all different kinds of reasons. They were having what we call a social throwdown. That's our tagline. And I think that's when, I started thinking, like, I'm going to be getting out of my day job a little earlier than I expected, because we were doing day and night. I mean, we were working the day job and then changing clothes.
Tell everybody a little bit about your day job, what it was.
At that time, I was an educator for 27 years, but my last job before retirement and switching over to full-time Stumpy's was an elementary school principal. So this was, night and day, literally different than what I was doing during the day, working with kids. And
but let's be honest, Kelly didn't want to admit that she owned a hatchet throwing business.
It's true.
But she was an elementary school principal.
I know, I had to keep up your kids well.
When people started seeing it on social media, she was like, "Oh, that's my business. That's my husband's business."
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. Stu's into this thing.
He's doing something over there.
Hey, stop running with the scissors, but then later on.
That's true. And so
running with a sharpened hatchet. Yeah,
right. That's better.
It was so exciting. I mean, really, to be fair, the original plan was like, Kelly's got her career. Out of the 4 of us, I think I was the most invested in my career. I remember Mark saying this one time, like, we all have jobs, but you have a career, and but I wanted to get involved as well. And it was just very fascinating to explore, what kind of possibilities it would have for us. And we were working a lot of hours, day and night, day job, night job, but it was very rewarding. I mean, we were so pumped.
Super energizing.
Yeah,
when we were first opened and started becoming successful.
Even though we were tired because we were working long days, coming home, and at the time we lived about a half an hour from Stumpy's. So after cleaning up and closing the doors, which we were doing pretty much all the work, the 4 of us were, throwing coaches, ringing people up at the register, selling T-shirts. It was all hands on deck. But on the ride home, we would kind of decompress a little and talk about the different people that we met and the energy that we were feeling. And it was really hard to go to sleep after that night because, you're
like all keyed up from the exciting time.
We had to get a little sleep because you had to get up and do it all over again the next day. But
about how long of a time was that when you guys were just kind of doing both and you're in that real tough grind?
I would say at least 9 months, right?
Well, it was about 6 months. We hired in the fall of 2016. We hired our first employee.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So it was about 6 months we did that with just the owners, and then we, started realizing we had enough cash flow that it was time to start payroll and start hiring some employees. So I think
we still worked every other weekend.
Yeah, right. So we cut back a little bit, and we were still working. One couple would work one weekend, and we hired some staff. I think it was about October or so of 16.
But we didn't retire until, it's about 10 months in. But 3 years earlier than what we were planning on doing. So,
Yeah. So in the spring of 17, Kelly retired from her job. Trish had already, I guess, put in to do, I guess, Ralph Lauren. She worked for Ralph Lauren as in the men's wholesale division, and she put in to take an early buyout. And at that point, Mark was already retired, and I was the only guy like, hey, why am I still working my day job? You know?
So he went to my retirement party and then put in his retirement papers the next day.
So I was in IT for 25 years and 18 years at the school district where Kelly and I met. I was
Wow.
an administrator.
So you started to kind of figure out, you really got something here. You get this party of 40 to 50 people in there. What did you think, at that time, and then now reflecting back on it, what do you think it was exactly that makes people want to come into that business to where, like, oh, I think they're coming there for this? Like, what would that thing be?
Well, we think it's more about letting go, just doing something that's completely different and out of your comfort zone. So
Sure.
People come for different reasons. I think some just come, to be part of the party, and they don't even really think they're going to be throwing hatchets. But before they know it, they're, getting the wristband and getting trained because they decided that they saw other people doing it and having a good time. They decided to join in. But I think for several different reasons. And I think I can recall a few parties that people felt like they belonged there. I got this feeling like they would hug us on the way out and said like they had the best time. This is the best birthday they ever had. And I think it was kind of a very all-inclusive type of environment. We kind of foster people getting to know each other, and that's all part of the social throwdown. So you're with your friends, but there's the people next to you are cheering you on because you just hit the bullseye and you've been working at it all night, and ringing the bell, they hit the bullseye. So the whole room kind of cheers and then goes back to their party. But I saw people, sharing food, sharing, oh, I didn't know it was a BYOB. And then someone else is like, well, I've got plenty of beer, have some of ours. So where do you see that? Where do you see people, coming together like that?
I think the other aspect of it is that, it's the experience that you can't buy, right? I mean, you can't go to Amazon and buy an experience, but this was like a new and exciting experience. People walk in the door, it's like level set. Nobody's, most people haven't touched a hatchet, let alone thrown one. So now they're walking in the door, everybody's starting at the same place, and they're kind of learning together a new, skill that, they can master and zoom in. I don't know what the word is, kind of hone.
It's almost like you're creating like a new kind of game,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
A sport.
So,
yeah, like a sport, right? And like now I'm seeing this stuff on ESPN. I'm not kidding you. I saw this on ESPN. They were doing hatchet toss games.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
is becoming a little bit more of a thing with competition, and our business model really is centered on just the average person. So not everybody is going to get to that level where they're on ESPN, but we do have leagues, and we're looking to explore that avenue a little bit more next year. Our business plan or our action plan for the coming months is to incorporate a little bit more of the competitive hatchet throwing, but to continue to focus on the celebrations. Everybody's going to always have a birthday, and I think people want to get away from having parties in their home. I mean, we brainstormed a lot of different things, but we never put baby showers on our list, and we've had 3 baby showers. And I'm not talking like men and women baby showers. This is like all women coming for a baby shower with their gifts and throwing hatchets. So
I love it.
So
Well, I had to.
people don't have to like clean their house and have a party and favors and everything. We're already decorated. It's rustic. That's very in. Buffalo plaid and leather couches, and they come have their party, and we set it up and clean it up, and off they go. So
Yeah, I have to admit, I had to do some research before this show. So last night I went to one of your competitors in our town and to try this out because we don't have Stumpies here. So not yet, right? Not yet. So we go there, and I'm like, I got to see what this is all about. So we get, it's a similar kind of setup, probably a little bit different than Stumpies, but there's something about just throwing an axe that's just awesome. I don't know what it is, but it's like you said, like a social throwdown. But yes, it's like just aggression relief. You can just have a rough day or whatever. You just let it go on this giant wooden board, and you just feel so tribal almost. It's incredible. You feel like you're
Definitely
aiming
primitive.
at something. Yeah, it's like this primitive warfare or something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you get this like creative kind of fun, primal relief, and it's just fun because everybody's there and you're all cheering, and then you have different games. So I think the concept is incredible, and that you guys, kind of were the pioneers of that concept. I think that's what people are missing. All these other people you're seeing around the country that are doing this are really copying your model that you guys kind of came up with. So I think it's pretty cool to know you guys were bringing this into the States.
Yeah, we really had to think about how it would go in the United States. Like it's, I think Canada is a little bit more
outdoorsy,
rural. So we thought,
that's probably pretty common up in Canada. That's like what they do for fun.
Yeah, I think so. It's a long winter, but for us, we were thinking, and we did a little market research and asked people what they thought. But our big goal really was to get people away from technology and to just start connecting again to each other. So while you do see someone take out their phone and take a picture of their bullseye, you really don't see people sitting there, texting or whatever. They're engaged for the time that they're there. And, a lot of people think like, oh, they're bringing in beer. That sounds so dangerous. But the truth is that most people aren't even really drinking that much because they're engaged in a physical activity. So different than sitting at a bar where you're really, you got
you just got nothing to do but sit there.
Yeah,
nothing else to do.
So I think we succeeded on that. We wanted something that was more engaging and active and, interactive.
What did you guys do for, before you were getting started and you wanted to see if this was a viable concept? How did you do your market research, tactically? Like what were some of the things you looked at or evaluated to determine, I think we're going to take a jump here?
We didn't have a real fancy plan. We talked to a lot of people. In fact, Trish and I made it, our job to go around, talk to people of all ages. And if we'd be out to dinner and we're talking to the waitress or the bartender or whatever, and the guys
just kind of socialize it.
Yeah. The guys are like, stop talking to people. They're going to steal our idea. But we had to really feel like,
This is during our 6-month journey to find a landlord who would buy into the concept and rent and lease us. That's like a whole nother show. We could talk about that,
that's right.
that process.
Oh yeah. I can't imagine.
But how many people did we have, Stu? Like people would be like, that sounds really cool. Or, just kind of thinking about it a second. I mean, don't get me wrong. We had a lot of people that we knew that thought we were insane, that was a dumb idea. I know our parents, I think in the beginning might've thought like, you're giving up your day job for this. That sounds really crazy.
Yeah, everybody's parents.
But yeah, it's they've soon changed their minds when they saw the success that we've had. So
how did you deal with that? Like just all these people telling you I don't know if this is going to work. What was going through your thought, like the thoughts of how you handled their objections?
A lot of people didn't really say it. You could just tell by the raised eyebrow.
About it. Yeah.
Their lack of words said a lot. And now we're like, yeah, look at us now.
Yeah, right.
So, people close to your family that you can talk to about these things, that they're not going to go out and reveal them. You just roll some numbers at them, on the kind of money that was, gross revenue we were doing. And then they'd be like, oh, maybe it's not such a.
That is a really good idea.
Yeah.
So what were some of like your biggest struggles, getting this thing going? As everybody knows, I think it's so easy to paint the road of an entrepreneur like it's just this linear path to success. But just talking to you guys at the wedding and all sorts of stuff, it was like, it wasn't like that. There are struggles, and what were some of those struggles, and how did you kind of deal with them and overcome them?
Well, I think the initial struggle, as I alluded to earlier, was just finding a landlord that would buy into the concept. So because it was the first in the country, we went through found a number of locations that would have been suitable, that we thought were great, in probably 4 different counties surrounding where we live, and probably 5 or 6 locations fell through because the landlord couldn't see that the vision that we had and what we were looking to do in their space. So that was probably our biggest challenge, because it was, we spent a lot of time in the car going and looking at spaces and then getting turned down. And it was like, it got to be a little frustrating after a while. We were like,
we got so lucky though. We found someone who not only believed in the concept, but had a lot of connections in the town and said, let me take this to zoning and things like that. So when you're devastated because one thing fell through after another, it is kind of true. Things happen for a reason, and there's a better option down the road. So we keep telling our franchisees that who also go through the same struggle of finding the right location and, something that's big enough with the right zoning and, BYOB, that whole thing. We do have some locations now that are serving beer and wine, or got a few that have a beer wall. So
sure.
Yeah, that's a new thing, and we're excited about that because just kind of taking our brand and elevating it a bit.
So is that still the original site, that same spot that you got the original lease with?
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah, we're still in the original site, but BYOB. We don't foresee a beer or wine license or beer wall in New Jersey.
Oh yeah.
Archaic liquor laws in New Jersey are just not.
It's not going to happen here, but in other states, it's very viable.
And this is right there in Eatontown, right? That's the original.
Yeah.
So if you're in the area, guys, go check it out. No.
Yeah.
Right, the Jersey Shore.
Cool. Is there any other? So how did you? I guess. How do you get a landlord bought into that? Is this just a guy that was just more open to it? You got lucky, or did you have to really sell him on it?
He was a younger guy. He's probably younger than most of the landlords we dealt with. I think once we talked to him about what we were doing and showed him the business plan.
I remember him smiling and being like, I think this is going to be kind of cool,
Yeah, and I think he was, he bought into the concept and bought into our vision of the way that we were going to do it and our safety plan, all the things that we had sat down and, kind of worked through and figured out. And we honed after we opened as well. But I think he just, had the vision or the wherewithal to see our vision and, obviously had the faith in us that we could pull it off and get it done. So I think we lucked out. He definitely was a little bit of a visionary, like we like to think we were at the time, and allowed us to, open up in one of his spaces and we were off to the races.
Yeah. What about now, as you've kind of grown? What do you kind of see the up and coming challenges being, or what are you starting to see as difficulties as you continue to grow?
I think definitely staying ahead of the industry. It's
the copycats.
Growing. Yeah, the copycats and separating ourselves with being kind of the premier axe throwing. I think we do a really good job of the decor and we spend some money on making it look really nice and appeal to people, appeal to the senses. So it smells nice. It looks nice. It's not just a sweaty place to, hurl axes. So, and yet also, keeping it fresh. So concentrating on repeat customers, making sure that they realize that, this is something that they can grow with us with getting better at it. Right now we're exploring ways to get companies to come back for another team building event. So sort of upping the game a little bit as far as what we offer.
Yeah. Well, so tell me a little bit about just you guys as people. What do you, Kelly and Stu, what do you guys like? And how do you identify as an entrepreneur or as someone, like, clearly the business is working because you did something. And what do you think that is? Like, what's like about your personality you think was really helpful in growing this and making it work?
I think all four of the owners kind of come from a mindset of like, we'll do whatever it takes to make it work and make it successful. Sure. So I think, that's probably, I know personally that's kind of the way I've always kind of looked at life, and taking on challenges with just jumping in and figuring things out and making it happen and, using your intuition to make good decisions, hopefully, and really, try to learn from your mistakes and not repeat them. And, often, seek the advice of people who, have experience. Both of Kelly and I's parents were business owners. So we've had some exposure to that growing up. So I think that definitely helped. And it was definitely, a resource that we could, tap into and run ideas and thoughts off them. So I think it's just a combination of kind of bootstrap, put on your work boots and get it done.
Right. And we have a T-shirt at Stumpy's that says "Work hard, play hard," which is sort of goes with the team building events and things like that. But the four of us became friendly by sailing together, and like Stu said, I think we all were hard workers. We we didn't take anything for granted. And what's been so cool about this job or this business, we've been able to give back to the community. We're really grateful of like people who took a chance on us, and if you could see our location, it's kind of a little hole in the wall in an industrial park. So it's not like it has a big fancy sign, and people took a chance. They came there, and when they walk in the door, they're like, oh, wow, yeah, this is pretty cool. I had no idea. And, even when we go to networking events, Chamber of Commerce, most recently, we did our little 30-second elevator pitch and said, sorry, we haven't been around much. We just opened our 18th store, and the whole room just started clapping. Like, it's pretty cool. And it was so nice it was just awesome, because if it wasn't for our little start in Eatontown, we would not have been able to take it to that level.
Yeah.
And
the businesses in the industrial park that were in that, that our first couple team building events, they kind of took a chance on, we were young, we were 6 months old or less, and they took a chance on bringing their staff there. We started selling those parties and getting them in. We've had a number of them that come back, twice a year. They come back quarterly.
They bring different vendors.
Yeah, they bring in vendors. They bring in the national sales team whenever they're in town. They do their day of meetings. They come over for dinner and hatchet throwing. So, those people that put the trust in us at the beginning, that allowed us to gain that experience and to kind of hone our, customer service and our hospitality skills with them. I think we owe a lot to them, because they certainly, put themselves a little bit on the cutting edge by jumping in with us.
And then we were able to take pictures of them and exploit them all through social media.
Yeah. Back when you didn't have to pay for social media, remember that? Those days,
yeah, right.
And how about our first holiday party in 2016? I remember a playground equipment company. They came and they were like, "We're going to do our Christmas party here," and the boss was really fun. And he's like, "I want to do something different. We're tired of going to a restaurant and sitting next to each other." And they had their Christmas party every year after, just to make it a tradition. So, again, we're very grateful, because then we were able to say we do holiday parties, because they kind of came to us, I think, and said, this is what we want to do. And now we do a number of holiday parties, and people, they get kind of crazy. They wear their ugly sweaters, and we get some catering in or whatever, but just something different. And it gives people something to talk about when they get back to the office on Monday.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, so you guys, it sounds like you and some of the other owners, you guys have this personality of hard work and of discipline and just that grit and fight. What other strengths do you see in yourselves and then maybe some of the other owners that, kind of offset, that you think are essential for any business owner to be successful?
Well, I think one of the elements in the four partners that are involved with this business is we kind of brought something unique, each one of us, to the table. Mark with his 40 years of experience in construction, Trish with her design and retail background, Kelly with her leadership and administrative skills and her excellent communication and organizational skills. I'm the IT guy, so
we needed you too.
Everything we do is pretty simple. It's all cloud-based, iPad-based stuff. But I'm kind of I ended up also having the role of being the money guy who makes sure that the bills get paid and the
We've always been good at that, paying things on time.
Yes, I interface with the lawyers and the accountants and all that fun stuff too. So I think it's just kind of a unique thing, but I think each one of us really just is kind of, passionate about anything that we do. I think we I've always taken whatever job I was doing and try to, do it the best to my ability. And I think my partners are the same way, that they are not going to settle for doing something, half-assed.
What do you think other entrepreneurs should value if they want to be able to open 18 stores? What would you tell them?
persistence. I think really thinking things through properly. I mean, I think that was something that was a big learning curve for us is how to franchise and get the right people to work with us. We're really grateful that people took a chance again. Like they took a chance on us in Eatontown. It's a small business, but for our, franchisees, we're still kind of on ground floor, I think. And for people to see our vision and get involved with these 4 people that don't have MBAs or, business backgrounds. I think that, do your due diligence. That's really important.
What do you think the balance is between due diligence and then just not even taking action? It's like some people overanalyze and then they kind of scare themselves out of it. What do you think the right mix of that looks like?
That's a good point.
So I that is a really good point. I think it's, you get to a point where, like you're saying, you can
talk yourself
do
out.
all the research you want, do all the market research, gather all the information that you want. And, depending on how you approach it, and I think your attitude towards what you're reading, you can either say, well, there's too much risk involved here, or there is some risk involved here. I can't take that risk, and I think it's just a certain personality that says, okay, you kind of rationalize. In our case, we're going to tap and take, we got a plan. We got a budget. We're going to go into our retirement savings account. We're going to pull out this amount of money, and that's it. We're going to make it happen with this money, no matter what. So I think it's just, you reach a point where you got to jump off the cliff. You got to jump in and you got to make it happen. But I think,
but maybe not overextend yourself.
Yeah,
so
not overextending yourself.
We took some money out of our retirement, knowing that if we blew it, we didn't, it's not going to change our lives drastically. But I think that's a really good point. And I never really thought about it as like you could really talk yourself out of it. But
I think back to the franchisees, we, from what we've been told, to start franchising about a year into a business without really, a proven business model, even though we had a very, very good 2016, I think is kind of unheard of. So, again, I think we're very grateful for the people who, the first, 3 or 4 that bought franchises, they took a risk. It was a huge risk that, that they were jumping in on this new concept, this new business, and this new franchise. So I think it definitely does take the kind of personality that's willing to, accept a certain amount of risk to, to enjoy the spoils of their efforts.
Sure. So it's like the persistence and the stomach for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you noticed anything that just kind of scared you like that? Like, it's just like, wow, it takes a lot to go through this. I mean, you mentioned you took money out of your retirement account to put this forward. I mean, and leaving pretty stable, comfortable situation to take this risk. What was that like?
It's a little scary.
It is scary.
Because when we put in, I know when I put in my retirement papers, I wasn't as vested as Kelly was, even though I had accumulated and I was vested in the pension system. I didn't have the years really. I was at 18. I really needed 25 to get the full bore. But it was one of those things where we were kind of seeing what was happening with the franchising, and we realized there was a lot of work to be done there, and it was kind of a moment where we just had to say, we're either all in or we're not. So if we're going to go all in with this thing, let's do it.
Yeah, I think we explored what could we do if it doesn't work out. Yes, we left our comfortable jobs that we had, not comfortable, but the ones that we had longevity with. But our careers. But there were other options. I mean, I always kind of wanted to do consulting work in education. So that was sort of, well, if this doesn't work, I could do that. And I don't know. I think we had.
I always wanted to be a stay-at-home dad, so I was going to really work. I was going to, walk.
If it all doesn't work out, I can just stay at home and
really
do some yoga. Take a nap.
Go to brunches. Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds kind of like, in a way, the way you
work at Home Depot if I had to, whatever it took.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. I mean, but in a way, it sounds like you dealt with a lot of the fear and anxiety that might come with a big decision like that by just going to the darkest place that could happen in your mind and having a plan for that circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
This sounds really corny, but we have a strong marriage, and I mean, we work together.
Yeah, I don't think that's corny.
You and Marissa seem the same way. Like you have a vision together, and I think that if we didn't have that, if we didn't really believe in each other, I don't know if this really could have worked. So we spend an awful lot of time together.
An awful lot of time
together. Work side by side, but you know, when I probably freak out a little bit more than Stu, and I get scared. He'll talk me off the ledge, and you know, I think we just support each other really nicely. But for myself, I think one of the things that scares me a lot now is that we don't have just our business to, you know, the two couples and our one little location in Eatontown, but we have, you know, a big responsibility to all the franchisees who took a chance and bought the business. So sometimes at night, you know, you want to make sure you make the right decisions because it affects a whole lot more people now.
Right. So yeah, that's definitely got to be stressful to have the pressure of a lot of businesses. So you said you have 18 stores and then 25 in the queue?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, that's going to be really an excellent opportunity though for you guys to, you know, show them your success model and really grow that thing. I think that's going to be awesome.
And one of the, you know, back to the franchisees, one of the most exciting things for us, you know, that we've talked about is, you know, look how many people we've got. A couple of them, actually a number now. I should actually add up that number of franchisees who have left their day jobs now. You know, they worked double. You know, we saw them do the same kind of formula we did. They worked for 6 months, 12 months, doing both, and now they've left their day job and they're running their Stumpies full time. And you know, to see those people kind of, you know, achieve that independence and that kind of self-determination has really been exciting. And then you know, we look at how many people we've employed. You know, we've got full-time employees in locations, a lot of part-time employees. So I mean, that's also kind of a you know, gratifying thing to do, to see people benefiting from, you know, something that we put together and moving in a direction, especially the franchisees that where they want it to be, having the, you know, the freedom to be their own boss.
Yeah, that's got to feel incredible, you know, being that kind of a resource to people.
Yeah.
I mean, you're giving these people a gateway out of something that they might not have enjoyed, like this rat race lifestyle. And now you've created a solution for them. And then you've also created jobs and income for other people. Like this is America at work, you know, and it's just so cool to watch it. And I imagine that feels really empowering to you guys.
It does.
It's very satisfying.
So, you know, kind of going back to mitigating your kind of your anxiety around jumping into this full swing, was it a pretty generally easy transition because of the immediate success, for lack of a better word? Like you had some good momentum coming up early, so it was like kind of a relatively seamless transition? Or did you think, like, second guess yourself, like, well, this is only going to work if I go all in?
No, kind of the first, the former. Yeah, I think it happened so quickly, and we were just riding the wave. It was exciting. We were running with it, and while, you know, there are times when I really miss working with children, especially this time of year. If I see somebody on Facebook with their, you know, their holiday concert or something like that, you see kindergartners doing their show, I'm like, oh, I kind of miss that. But then it's like back to work, you know. It doesn't last long, not because I don't miss it, but because I'm excited about the decision we made to go with this.
What are some things, looking at your business in general, you'd say, looking back, like, man, I wish I would have known this before we started, or what, I wish I would have researched this a little bit more?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we've done, and in retrospect, maybe we've done a little differently, and I think Kelly alluded to it earlier, is, you know, the FDD, which is, you know, the financial disclosure documents, the contract with the franchisees, is an organic document that evolves over time. So I think in the beginning, I think if I could give any advice to any entrepreneur that's looking to franchise, is really sit down and think through all the possible scenarios involved with, you know, basically having a business partner. And we have, you know, 18 sets now, 38 sets of business partners now that are kind of, while they're independently owned, you know, they're in business with us. And I think it's just important to kind of think through all the possible scenarios and make sure that you're including all that information in the FDD, good, bad, or indifferent. That so there's no miscommunication or the expectation is clearly defined on what the role is, because there certainly has been some growing pain with that aspect of it. Based on the first year to now, the third year.
Yeah.
Is that just, I mean, would that be you thinking through all these scenarios? Is that like you and, your attorneys, or how would you?
I think, I think definitely in concert with the attorneys, but, it certainly is, sorry about that. It certainly is one of the things that, we've talked about on a couple of occasions that we would have probably, just thought through a lot more.
I think at that time we didn't know what we didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we, in the beginning, made decisions. If we had 2-3 stores, we were making a decision. Now we have 18 open and 37.
Yeah, you just know
total.
What to cover more.
Yeah, you just have to really think it through and is it going to be a good decision for everybody involved? It's not just us. It's not just a couple of places. Now it's it's establishing your brand. You don't want to water it down or
deviate from it. And then you get a lot of entrepreneurs who have bought the franchise, who are business people or new business people that have ideas. And we have learned a lot from them and incorporated a lot of suggestions that they've come forth with into our business model. But, there's also the times where you have to say, that's not really going to work. And that might not be what they want to hear because they think they've come up with the ultimate answer or the ultimate suggestion. So that's part of the challenge is kind of balancing, what they're telling you or what they're asking you to do with the big picture and
staying committed to that vision.
Yeah,
and making sure all the suggestions and ideas and things that come up stay consistent with that vision without letting them fall outside of it.
Right.
That's got to be an interesting thought process to go through.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a balancing act, And
I think in today's day and age, people want answers quickly and let's get this, let's do it, and I think something I've learned, and probably more so than my partners, where they're better at pondering, and I'm want to get right back to the franchisee with a response, and I'm learning, flush it out, think about it first before you react quickly. So definitely something I'm working on.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, 2 last things I think before we wrap up today. The first one I wanted to just ask, we touched on a couple specific maybe pieces of advice you'd give people, but for the up and coming entrepreneur, what general piece of advice would you give them? We talked about persistence. We talked about, making sure that you have that network of people to offset your strengths around you, or offset your weaknesses rather around you. What other piece of advice would you give someone to say, this is what you need to be successful if you want to jump into a business?
Well, I always say it's better to be lucky than good. So try to be lucky. No, seriously. I mean, it's just, I think, trying to make educated decisions, seek advice where you can from people who know more and have been involved with whatever you're looking to do.
Have a track record.
Have a track record. I definitely don't feel like you have to have all the answers or, need to come up with a great idea. I think there's a lot of great ideas out there that can be improved on and that people can probably, take something and, make it better. We see it happen all the time in our society where somebody takes a simple idea and makes it better. So I think it's just kind of being persistent and, taking a never give up attitude and willing to put the hard work in and, not being shy about asking for help.
Sure. Did you have anything else to add, Kelly?
Yeah, I would say, don't underestimate the power of networking and just talking to people. I think that we get caught up in a lot of digital marketing, all these new things that have a lot to do with technology. But I think going back to being in front of face to face with people, let people really know who you are and understand your values. I think that's really important. and not to hide behind your business, but to get out there and be confident and talk to people and learn from people.
That's a great point I want to emphasize too. It's just, when we have all these different hacks and tricks to market, to attention engineer, all this stuff online, but there's something inherently valuable about human connection, word of mouth marketing, networking, storytelling in person, in the flesh. And I think, that's really, I think, one of the contributors, as I just listened to your story, and I, as we got to know each other a little bit at the wedding, just the interactions with people will go a lot further, even with, film and movies and industry today. Movies still rely on word of mouth to get publicity, right? So it's just like, and that's, I think, one of the things you guys brought. So that's a huge point I want to emphasize as well with our listeners, is like, take that, right? Like the network, the interaction with people. That's one of the things we can look at.
Yeah. I mean, people love to hear your story. If it's a easy story, a hard story, it's a crazy story, they want to just hear what your story is and how you got to wherever you are.
That's true. We had a lot of guests that would just hang out and talk to us by the counter. They paid for 2 hours and they're spending half an hour hanging out, talking to us about how we got to where we were. And I realized, like, we're inspiring people because it's the American dream, right?
Yeah. It's American dream stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and that's an incredible story. You guys have an awesome story. And I know it's not easy what you all went through, but, you had this really great idea. And ultimately, the idea doesn't work unless you do, right? So it's just like you put it to the test. And I think our listeners got a little taste of, I'm sure, the last 5-6 years of your life putting this whole thing together. But it was certainly a pleasure listening to the story from you guys and your perspective. My final question for you all is just kind of, what else are you guys working on? What's next for Stumpy's? How can people stay engaged, follow along with your journey, or stay connected with you all? Maybe listeners might want to be possible franchisee owners. What's kind of the overall theme and elevator pitch you guys got for them?
Well, we first want you to visit our website at stumpyshh.com to find out all about the different locations that are coming near you and what you can expect to come to Stumpy's. But all really good questions as far as what's coming down the road. We're excited to be able to elevate our team building events. We're looking to do more with competitive axe throwing for those who
Stumpy's
if
National
that's their
Championship.
thing.
Hell yeah.
You may see us on ESPN.
After my throws last night, I got the one-handed one down. I might be on TV.
There you go.
I'll be on your Stumpy's competitive league.
Exactly.
Awesome.
And so we have a majority of our locations are in the Northeast, and on the eastern side of the country, we have a few, heading west, but we have a lot of land between here and California that we'd like to grow and expand. So we're looking for people who are hardworking and business-minded and adventurous to join our team and open up a Stumpy's. So we'd love to talk to you more about that if that's, if people have an interest in that. But, follow us on social media. You'll hear all about our new locations and see what we're up to. So it's at Stumpy's HH.
Awesome. Well,
Social Throwdown.
That's right.
Hashtag social throwdown.
Yeah.
Legit. I love it. This was incredible, guys, listening to your story. And is there any other just recommendations on, personal growth and development you guys might have for some people that some things or habits or routines that you picked up that you thought would be helpful for others as well?
I think, to deal with stress, I think yoga and meditation is a good thing, but that's just a personal thing for me.
Sure.
I think no matter how crazy things get, you've got to definitely make time for yourself and time to enjoy the things that you do. So we always make sure we work in some time to go boating, to go skiing, to go biking, to do all the things that we love to do, because that's the reason why we're working so hard, right? So we can enjoy life and enjoy our families and do all the fun stuff that makes life worthwhile. So I think, put your nose to the grindstone, but, also step away and, lay on the beach for a little bit.
And
Sure.
for me, it's more about getting organized and don't let your email take over your day, and, have a to-do list and keep at it, because I think that the minutia of the day can really eat into your time, and then it takes away from growing bigger ideas and working on those long range plans. So we're working hard to like fire ourselves from some of our daily duties so that we can spend time on growing the business and going into the next level.
Absolutely. Yeah, that just excellent. I'm so excited to watch you guys transition into that phase and just observe these things take over the country, because I mean, it seemed almost like overnight these things were just popping up everywhere, and now we're seeing the copycats come, and you guys were the originals. I want to emphasize that these guys were the first ones to bring this here. You might see them popping up in your town. Stumpy's was the first. All right. So just remember, if you want to stay loyal to the original, pioneers of this, we got them right here on this show. So
thanks so much,
awesome,
Aaron.
Well, Kelly and Stu, thank you so much for jumping on once again. Here was our podcast today, Winners, Wallets, and Worldviews. You can follow me on Instagram at AaronArmstrong33, or you can go to AaronJArmstrong.com, and you'll be able to find this podcast along with others. If you enjoyed this, if you think somebody else needs to hear this message, or you think it was an interesting story, I encourage you to share this, comment on whatever platform you're listening, and make sure that you leave positive reviews, because that's what allows this to trend, so other people can get this kind of insight and advice in their entrepreneurial journey as well as their own personal journey. So thank you so much, everybody. Be somebody.
What's up, everybody? This is your host, AJ Armstrong. You can follow me on Instagram at AaronArmstrong33. That's Aaron Armstrong 33, or you can go to my website, AaronJArmstrong.com. Thanks so much for listening through to the end. I wanted to also introduce you guys to our Facebook community. So you can go to Winners, Wallets, Worldviews on Facebook, and it's a group where we can offer, different opportunities for you guys to ask questions. If you have a Q&A or something in your business or a challenge in your life that you want to bring up, that's the community to ask it. And then I can also share that with all of our listeners on our social media platforms. Final thing I wanted to share with you guys, something Marissa and I have been so excited for. It's been really chomping at me to freaking tell you guys. And it's our Personal Growth Ventures Retreat. So our Personal Growth Ventures Retreat is going to be located on the island of St. Lucia. It's going to be a business seminar combined with personal growth and development. And we're also adding in something nobody else has ever done in a seminar that I have heard of. And that's fitness and adventure. So these are the things that are going to help push us to our limits. It's going to help us break through our fears. And these adventures are going to be one of a kind. If you want to find out more about what our adventures entail, what's going to be involved in the education session, and where this is all going to be happening and when, you can go to our website, personalgrowthventures.com. That's personalgrowthventures.com. It's also going to be located in the show notes. So with that said, guys, thanks so much for listening through to the end. Once again, go be somebody.